Hello, and welcome to Sharing the Manual podcast, brought to you by You Insure, where we journey with you to finish well financially. This journey takes you to an intersection of life and money coaching. As we all know, how you live out your life in all areas has lasting effects on your money. Now, it has been said that emotionally connected men and women have better finances. My name is Amy Yu, and if you've seen my last name, you know why I've shortened it. And I will be your host. I am so glad that you've joined us on what is sure to be a memorable adventure. One where no topic is off limits. We understand that all areas of our lives are intertwined. We will talk money, emotions, even emotions around your money. Raising kids, which is sure to be a hoot, as they say the darndest things. Dating, relationships, marriage, grief in so many forms, whether it's a death, a divorce, an illness, or just your life not turning out how you thought it would. Because that, my friends, is very real, and I know that firsthand. We will tackle life's epic fails, celebrate the wins, overcome the obstacles, address the mountains and valleys in each other's lives. No rock will go unturned. This podcast is one of real, honest, genuine, humorous conversations where we share stories that are sure to inspire you, encourage, equip, and empower you to live out your best life. Our goal is to build connections, community of belonging, as you, my dear, are not the only one. We are journeying and navigating this life together, and I hope that you're ready to dive right in. This one is going to be a blast, you guys. There are times when I don't even know who the parent is in my house. I laugh because sometimes I think my kids are teaching me far more than I have ever taught them through the years. For me being adult, I lack the idea about roots that are deeply planted within the ground. I'm a little bit more of a free spirit than some. My kids always laugh when I check out a new city. I always manage coming home with the words rolling off my tongue. We did a cruise and we learned to snorkel, and the lady lived on the boat and she was telling me how she sold everything and she moved to St. Martin and she never looked back. My kids sat there and they rolled their eyes. Great. Now mom is going to raise us on a fishing boat. It makes me chuckle, you guys, because the thought did cross my mind. Same thing happened when we did missions in Haiti. I came back wanting to sell everything and have a simpler life, back to what really matters. It seems that my kids keep me a little bit more grounded as they don't want to keep changing schools. But why, I can't imagine why they wouldn't want to keep moving schools. My parents moved around lots. Hell, I even lived in 3 different houses on one street, maybe even more than that. I'm actually not sure. Those were the good old days. But I'll have you know that I have lived in the same house now for 6 years. So my roots are getting deeper as we speak. My kids are so proud of this mama and her adulting skills. Who recalls growing up saying, I will never be like my mom or my dad? Oh yeah, I did that. I was a Miss Know-It-All as a kid. It turns out, oh my gosh, I have some of her traits. They are showing up. Like, where the hell did they come from? The kids and I have had some pivotal moments in our lives that have led to where we are going today. Not easy, but we persevered through. And I had spent 6 years being a single mom with 3 kids. Throw on top of that, navigating school to get an education, a new career, juggling act of life. Now, there was a lot of rough patches, let me tell you. Has anyone ever watched the movie We Bought a Zoo? I think it's a movie. Oh, goodness. Anyways, by the way, this movie should come with a warning label. It truly should. It brings out raw, real emotions. And this movie was a story about a family moving to a zoo. Now, the mom had passed away, and there was this dad trying to navigate raising the kids. And there was 3 of them, some happy, some sad about their current position in life. The teenage rebellion, which, yes, it is a thing. So we can relate. Fair enough. We totally relate. So there is a scene in this movie, though, where there's a breakdown and the teenage boy and his dad. The dad falls apart as he doesn't know how to do the job. In fact, in that moment, we were all snuggled on the couch, and there I am with tears streaming down my cheeks. And I look over at the kids and I say, am I doing okay? Sobbing. Here I was, not knowing how to do the job of being a single mom, raising 3 kids without their dad, balancing absolutely everything. That moment, though, it brought us closer together as a family. They realized that I was doing my best and that we were able to see that I too hold the pain and that we are not in this alone. We are in it together. And I remember looking at them crying, saying, I didn't sign up for this either. And so many times I've actually gone through the years and I've had to remind the kids, I didn't sign up for this either. And from that point forward, we were a pack though. It was us against the world. It was teamwork. We all played a part and we would all chip in to make things easier in this house. So my kids all have chores each day. We all have to do our part. and we have more time to do things together or the things that we love. So I had asked the kids for help. I had to lean on them and lower my expectations of doing all things on my own. We are a well oiled machine in this house, and I have taught my kids that serving in this house is more important. There was no allowance, and I know that some families do that, but it wasn't, I couldn't afford it. I couldn't give the kids an allowance. I was barely making my ends meet. We had to share the load. Kid you not, there are times when my kids complained and they didn't want to do it, and that is okay. I then asked them a few times and I would proceed to do it myself. Sometimes I would blow my cool and I would pop my lid, but when they asked me to do something, my answer then for them would be, sorry, I can't, because I am now picking up someone else's load that they didn't want to carry. Meaning that if they didn't want to do their bathroom and now I'm doing the bathroom, well, I'm sorry, I don't have time to do something with you. So hear me on this. It worked great for me. Not saying it works for everybody, but it did work great for me and still does. So my kids have to vacuum. They have to do laundry. They have to clean their bathrooms, their rooms. I come home after work and their chores are not done. Okay. The kids then ask, hey, mom, can you drive me here? Or can we go for a bike ride? I'm like, did you do your chores? Oh, no. Well, I'm sorry. Then I have to do them. So my evening is now booked. It affects them. They wanted that time with me to do something fun. And if we're working out, that is coming close to exhaustion, or hell, you're completely burnt out. Like a working mom, it's hard. And I was exhausted and I was getting burnt out and I was getting tired. But then take this tip from me. This is where the teamwork comes in, and being able to speak openly and honestly to one another in kindness, that actions have consequences. Just the other day, I had to remind my son that he too has to pull his weight in this house. He looked at me and said, Mom, but I have school and my grades and I want to get good grades. He's so clever, right? And he's like, and I work. And not to mention my workouts, Mom, you know how important they are to me. I'm like, okay. So he's saying he didn't have time. I was reading a book not that long ago, and this book had me rattled. Such a good book. Definitely challenged my thinking on a lot of things. It's called Untamed by Glennon Doyle. There were some key teachings in this book that made me realize that I had parented my kids wrong all these years. I had taught my kids that they needed good grades, 75% or higher. They had to work hard. They had to save money. They had to take care of their selves, physical wellness, and their body and nutrition, and show the world what you're made of. Give it your best. Hindsight's always 2020, you guys. I accidentally taught my kids that achieving out there is more important than serving your family. I taught them that you spend most of your energy out there and that your family gets your leftovers. Out there is where you give your best. And I really needed to course correct that. She says it in her book. I don't give a rat's ass how much respect you earn for yourself out in the world if you are not showing respect to the people inside your home. If you don't get that right, nothing you do out there will ever matter. Oh, I love this. It is so true. Well, yes, all those things were good things. Yes, I wanted him to have good friends and good listening, make good partners, make good parents, and be good members of contributing to society, not striving, not being perfectionists. I don't want them competing with the world and what it has to offer. So fast forward a week after, I kind of had this talk and course corrected my kids and let them know, stop serving the world and start serving your home. Let me paint you a picture as to how life went down in my house that day. So we are sitting at the supper table. We all enjoy our family dinners. And my son says to me, Mom, can I tell you something? Everybody goes quiet. I'm like, of course. What's up, bud? He then sheepily pipes up and says, remember how you pulled me aside last week and you talked to me about serving out in the world and not giving my family my best? Yes. I looked at him and I nodded and I'm like, I knew it. I'm like, crap. He is calling me out on my shit. I knew it. So here I'm thinking, crap, crap, crap. And sure enough, he calls me out and he says, Mama, very gently, Mama, you're doing it. Mic drop, folks. Like, he hit it home. How you give feedback to the ones you love the most is so important. It's in truth and in kindness. I began to laugh and I said, yep, sure am. Thank you for calling me out on my crap. Now, I had every excuse though. I was like, there's a cold snap. There was nothing else to do. You kids were busy. It was Christmas break. I thought I could just get some shit done. But none of it actually mattered. If I expected my sweet ones to listen to me, then I needed to walk the talk. I was in striving mode. I fell into perfecting mode. I wanted things done and I wanted them done right. And I felt like I had to do it myself. More to do, lots to get done. The second learning from this book is teaching our kids to stay true to themselves at all cost. This one still has me a little bit rattled because I'm watching things unfold within my kids' friends and other family members and just society. And it's about our kids and teaching them to stay true to themselves at all cost. How do we do that? Well, we tell them. So, Glennon Doyle in her book, she says, every time that you're given a choice between disappointing someone else and disappointing yourself, your duty is to disappoint that someone else. Now, I read that to my daughter, and so she chimes in, Mom, even you? Damn, especially me, kid, especially me. So let me repeat that for you. Every time you're given a choice between disappointing someone else and disappointing yourself, your duty is to disappoint that someone else. That was the gold right there. Oh my goodness. I hope you guys wrote that down because it's big. It's time we let our kids be true to themselves. Judgment is putting them in a cage. Self judgment, based on fear of what others will think, is self abandonment. I don't want that for my kids. Hell, I'm just trying to figure that out now, right? Who I am under all of these labels that I've got throughout my life. I don't want to be the one that's putting these labels on my kids. I want them to be free to be unapologetically, authentically who they were created to be. And they need to figure that out themselves. It is actually my job as their mom to guide them, but not forge their path. And you know what, guys? This goes against like how I was raised. It was said to me, you do A, B, C, D, E, and brings you all the way to Z. You know, you go through the alphabet, you go through the motions. This is how you're supposed to do things. I may have done things the hard way. But my kids have heard me say it often. I wasn't put here to be their friend. I was given the mom role, which is to raise them in such a way that I would want to be their friends later in life, as they have character traits and morals and values of somebody that would sit at my damn table. This is my role as a mother. The joys of raising teenagers, I'm telling you, I'm learning this all now. My son is in training and he's training for calisthenics and it's dedication. And I'm telling you, the persistence he has takes it up a notch, I tell you. But he was telling me that one of his mentors had a video about training and how it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. Life doesn't always take you from A to B, then to C. Now, who can relate to that? Like, if I look at my life, it was a shit show. In my mind, it did. But looking back at how my journey actually mapped out, it jumps all around. And we had to adjust and we had to pivot so many times, it's almost unheard of. Is there anybody else that, you learn the hard way? My son proceeded to teach me that you must embrace the suck, is what he says. And I then looked at him and said, okay, who's parenting who here, kid? Like some days will be great to train and others it will feel like shit. It will feel like you're never going to accomplish this. And that's true in all aspects of life, really, if we think about it. Simply said from a 16-year-old boy to embrace the suck. Tomorrow may be better, and one day it will be awesome. But let's be clear, I was never that wise at the age of 16. I thought I was, but I wasn't. So thank goodness for mentors that we can have in our lives. Now, throughout my years of being a working mom and having been in corporate and so forth, I know the importance of having mentors. You really should have three. And I say three because you would like somebody who is older and wiser than you, somebody who is a peer, and then someone younger. And I say that because we learn so much from the different generations, their perspectives, their approach, the nuggets of wisdom that we can get from others. Now, these last couple months, I realized that my kids also should be building their network to have mentors in all three realms. They don't learn these things from books unless your kid is about reading personal development books. But at the age of 9. But my kids, I've tried that approach with my kids, and I'm a huge Brene Brown fan. And my kids, I wanted them to jump on that bandwagon with me and to read all of it, and they still had no part of it. Still to this day, I can't get them to read my self-help books. So they learn by watching. Monkey see, monkey do. More is caught than taught. That is the line that I absolutely love, and I repeat it so often. Kids really do listen, just so you know. I never thought they did until one day they managed to throw at me my own advice. I was like stunned, like a deer in headlights. I'm like, what did you just say? They then repeated it and laughed and was like, Yeah, mom, we listen. What do you know? Those ears are not just for decoration, holding up your pretty little earrings, you know? So I have to share this story as it just happened when preparing this episode. I was trying to think back to all my parenting screw ups. My daughter then stepped into the kitchen. And so I asked her, I'm like, what is something you wish your mom knew sooner when it comes to parenting? You know, how have I screwed up? The look on her face was one of caution as she was about to step into a trap. She was like thinking that this was going to bite her back. I looked at her and I was like, seriously, no, I know I've screwed up lots. And I need you guys to give me some tips so I can give other people some tips as to, what not to do or things they wish they knew sooner. This is how we help others, is what I proceeded to tell my daughter. So she mentioned, well, I wish we started hiking sooner and had more adventures. I giggled. I'm like, really? That's my screw up? Like, no, no, hun. I mean, like, how have I messed you up big? So she apparently needed more time to reflect on that. But trust me, I've screwed up lots. And how do I know this? Well, my walls are big and they're high, but hers aren't that far off of mine. And it's not that it's a competition as to who can build the higher walls in this house, but it's sad. When I read some of her poetry and I know that she is hurting inside and how they all are, they are growing up without a dad, something no kid should ever have to do. And one of my biggest regrets that I wish I had known sooner was the damage that my dating and not letting others in would actually affect my kids. It turns out that we all have abandonment wounds that run deep. And this is a whole other podcast, one that will be called probably Amy's Dirty Laundry. Here she lays it out for you. But an area that she has said and thanked me for has been my lack of pressure when it comes to boys, dating, university, career choice. My kids have watched me go through some not so good relationships, and I have never put pressure on them to date. Actually, quite the opposite. I don't make room for it as an option. I'm very open and honest about all topics, and they've experienced dating epic flops secondhand through me. And I want their focus to be finding who they truly are prior to somebody telling them what they are or who should they be. Now, I remember reading a book that my daughter got me for Christmas. And at the time, I was really offended by her choice of the book that she got me. It was called Weird because normal isn't working. Now, you can imagine I opened that up on Christmas morning and I'm like, what the hell are you saying to your mom? But that book changed my views. From that book, it made me realize that I don't want my kids to fit in. I don't want the schools to teach them about boys and girls and sex. I was taking back the control. It was my job. It's my job to live weird, to live set apart, and to speak the truth to the kids about the hard topics. So later in the week, I decided that I would pull my daughter out of school really early. Now we're going back. This is a while back, guys, but it's such a funny story. And I was going to take my oldest on a trip out of school, just her and I. We were going to, girls trip. And we were so excited. So I picked her up, I get her in the car, and I got some snacks and we hit the highway. High speeds make it less appealing to bolt out of a car when I begin to have the so-called sex talk. Oh yeah, yeah, I did that. It was great, not awkward at all. As you can tell by my sarcasm in my voice. Now, this mama was ready though. Like I had all the street lingo, I had the terminology, you name it, we were going there. I will not leave this teaching to chance, is what I thought to myself. We laugh about it now, but at the time, she was traumatized. Now, fast forward to when we get home, I had to tell her, I'm like, okay, this is our little secret. We don't need to tell the other kids about this. She has an advantage. I don't want them not to take part when it's their turn. So she was all over that. She was beaming with excitement to actually watch my son go next. So listen, if we don't teach them these things, somebody else will. And that, my dear friends, is not a good idea. And here is why. My older two kids taught my youngest that her funny bone in her elbow was called a boner. Yeah, a boner. So she comes home from school the one day and she's like, Mommy, look at my boner. And she's laughing. And I'm like, huh, what did my kid just say? And then I'm fear struck because I'm like, did she say that at school? Like, what are people going to think? So this is a great example as to why we actually need to teach them this shit. I'm so surprised the school didn't call home that day. Needless to say that all my kids have had wonderful one-on-ones with their mom going through the nitty-gritty of it all. And I'm sure you all have hilarious stories too. Raising kids is never dull, that's for sure. But we can't put pressure on them when, we need to hold space for them. We need to give the opportunity to them to fail, to fall, to experience life. They need to discover who they are. They need to dabble in different lines of work. I was talking to a lady actually in Lethbridge, sweet soul, and she wants to build out this program for teens that when they leave high school, they can dabble in different areas to really explore what fuels them, what do they get passionate about, what gets them excited before making that commitment to go to college or university. And when I mentioned to my daughter that, yeah, this lady really wants to, have a program that does that, my daughter was like, well, mom, I wish that there was that for me. Like, I wish I could dabble. I wish I could explore. And so many times when I've interviewed men and women about money, they have shared with me that that is one of their regrets, that they did not know what they wanted to be. So they went into, a 4-year program. And even in year one, they knew it wasn't the right program, but they stuck it out because they were so scared of what their family would say or do. Or so they finished the program and then they pivoted. And we need to be teaching our kids that it is okay to pivot. It's okay to switch your line of work. It's okay to switch jobs. It's okay to move things around. My daughter, she talks about taking a year off of school. She would love to just kind of dabble like we talked about. And I would love for her to do that because schooling is a big investment and a ton of money, and taking on that debt to try to figure it out. Well, I don't know if that's the wisest thing either. But yet society and parents and other people and friends and communities put so much pressure on our kids that okay, you graduate, you get out of high school. Yeah, you go to college, university right away. This is something that I'm just learning now because I was that mom originally where it's like, no, you're going to college, you're going to university. That stung me in the ass by me not having it. I want you to have it. But the more I realize that's me imposing the path onto my kids, and that is not my role. Now, if any of you know of this program or this type of program that is out there and want to help get it off the ground, let me know. It's so crazy. My daughter has shared with me the pressure that some of her and her friends are feeling, and they feel it from teachers, they feel it from parents, grandparents, even about having their whole life kind of mapped out before them, before even stepping out of grade 12. When can we build and support our kids to remain true? When can we give them space to share and grow and learn and experience life that will bring out the real world shakers and the game changers for generations to come? When we teach our kids to have bravery and courage, partnered with vulnerability to be real, I love the quote by Jack Gilbert. Without bravery, you will never realize the vaulting scope of your own capacity. Without bravery, you would never know the world as richly as it longs to be known. Without bravery, your lives would remain small, far smaller than you probably want your lives to be. Now, raising teens requires bravery, let me tell you. But let's talk the years when they get their driver's license. It is a good thing that I am blonde because I tell you, I would have a full head of gray hair if I wasn't. Now, the day that my oldest got her driver's license, there I was sitting on the front porch in utter panic. Did she make it there? What's taking her so long? It was the longest 10 minutes of my life. She's driving by herself in my car to a friend on the other side of town. Remember, I live in a small city, so it's not far. It's less than 10 minutes. However, it felt like eternity, so long that I even called my mom sobbing. So I took it even further and I messaged the other mom, did she make it? Then the text comes in, not dead. Bless her heart. I love her to pieces. But she was right. I was terrified that she had died, that she was in an accident, that no one would find her. How irrational of me. I then decided to call my mom, sobbing. She answered the phone to a stuttering, Mom, I'm so sorry. The stress that I caused you. And Dad, she was completely caught off guard. And once I tell her that Alana got her license, she began to laugh hysterically at me. She's like, okay. She's like you. Got a text, honey. Simmer your buns. She's not dead. By that time, I was getting a grip on my emotions. And as a mom shared with me, her real struggle was that back in the day, there was no instant text messaging, no cell phones. Life was rough for them. Crap. Raising kids was hard then, just like it's hard now. I think I had this unrealistic expectation that all my kids would be similar. They got the same genes. How could they be so remarkably different from one another? I remember thinking, okay, the first one, well, yes, she's kind of the guinea pig. And the other two, well, they should be a piece of cake. I'll walk in the park as I have parented handbook from the first child. But wait, it's not that way at all. How many of us have said to our kids, we are doing the best that we can? All I ask is that when you have kids, that you do better than me. And I say that all the time to my kiddos, who, by the way, are now 18, 16, and 12. Where did the time go? So some of my do-overs would be to teach my kids about their emotions earlier in life. You should give a listen to the podcast about emotion. It makes me laugh just thinking about it. And it wasn't until this year that my wonderful listeners that I truly sat down with my kids to teach them about labeling their emotions. I was tired of hearing fine, good, upset from them and myself. Do we not have a better vocabulary than that? We hear about the iceberg analogy all the time, that what is unseen is far greater than what is seen, but yet we are told to suppress our feelings, to not feel it. Think about this for a second. When our young ones hurt themselves and they are crying, often we tell them to stop. Why? Is it uncomfortable for them or for us? It's not uncomfortable for them. Emotions need to come out. Enough with the bottle and blow approach that so many of us have. And you know what I'm talking about, like the Mentos in the Pepsi bottle, 0 to 100 in 10 seconds flat. I love the quote from Teddy Roosevelt. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how strong the man stumbles or where the other doers or deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust, sweat, and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there's no effort without error or shortcomings. Showing up is where it's at. And are we teaching our kids to show up? I know for me, it didn't even occur to me that I had to teach them about this. Again, my daughter tells me that there are lots of things that I forgot to teach them, like how to use a bank card, how to go to the hospital, how to renew licenses. She is making a list of the things that she wants me to teach her right now as we speak. It's super funny. Some of this I giggle and I thought common sense, but then is it common? Because common isn't always common. But she was right. This is why I think it is so important, and I wish I knew this sooner, was to teach my kids how to show up for others in their lives. Typically, when families have both parents, it would be demonstrated from the other partner. How to be there for me or other people. How many years have my kids didn't have that anymore? And I didn't think to teach it until one day I was let down because I had an expectation for them to show up for me. I shared this story in a previous podcast, so I won't go into detail. But as my daughter and I pondered this on a run the one day, she had a valid point. The kids that are taught that we as parents cater to them, so they naturally become selfish beings. Really, we all are to a degree. And things evolved around the kids, not the parents. Now, you guys, I could go on and on about all the things that I wish I had known sooner regarding parenting, but you don't know what you don't know. And when you know, you do better. And it's honestly about just showing up for the kids and owning the fact that when you make a mistake and recognizing that you are there to support them and that they're watching you. And so live out in such a way that you would want them to live out. So I leave you with that. We hope that you guys found this insightful. We encourage you to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on the new releases that are coming soon. Follow us on social media. Our platforms are LinkedIn and Instagram. Head over to the website and let us know if you wish to share your story, either on the podcast or even in a blog. Our website is youinsureinc.ca, youinsureinc.ca. We too have newsletters as we give you our very own family recipes paired with tips and tricks so you can finish well too. Bye for now.